you don't mind. And with spirit flows through your consciousness. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My goodness, we got St. Jude in the middle of the science lab. No, it's Jesus. Even better, right? What's wrong with Jesus?
The original author.
The original author. This was a beautiful reading, and past couple days I've been going through some stuff, and it was appropriate for me to hear it. So I do know that everything happens. We teach in our classes, you're always in the perfect place at the perfect time. Now, you may not like that sometimes. Like, Carolyn's experience turned out to be different than what she was thinking about, apparently. That happens often to me as well. So, what are you going to do? I mean, we have the science of mind teaching, which tells us we're powerful beings. We can do treatment. We can create worlds within worlds. There's power for good in the universe greater than you, and you can use the power. Well, we are using the power, but we don't get what we want. And that, how do you reconcile that? I have my answers. I'm more curious about what your answers are. How do you reconcile the fact that you don't get what you want?
I have the answer, I think, for myself, because you wouldn't really believe it. You have to believe it. If you believe it, happens. Instead of inside your soul, you have to believe it completely.
So we're being taped, and I repeat it in case it wasn't heard. So you're saying we have to really believe it, and that's a key ingredient to doing treatment, of course. Otherwise, the treatment is not a treatment, it is an affirmation. An affirmation, I have had many over the years on my refrigerator, magnets, and stickies. And an affirmation is something where you're declaring something that's positive. That's not a treatment. A treatment, as you just pointed out, incorporates belief. Otherwise, it's merely an affirmation. So a treatment, as Holmes said in the textbook, it's the time, the art, the method of ridding the negative idea from your consciousness. Well, so you would think if I took the time to get clear on something, then I would spontaneously demonstrate whatever I want, right? I get a no here and a what there.
You know, sometimes I have like a little way out of that. I make sure I set myself up okay. I'll say this or something better.
That's a trick I learned at Unity too, 25 years ago. That's how they taught me to pray at Unity. This or something better. So when we encounter the science of mind and spiritual mind treatment, we don't really do it that way. We go into a moment of meditation and we recognize that there's presence everywhere. And that presence is in us, operating through us, as us. And when we come from that place of knowing and we recognize that we're one with that and we speak, it's really the universe speaking through us. And you do have the ability, when you come from that empowered place, to really create worlds within worlds. You are creator. You're cause to your own experience. In the textbook, it's very clear for us, there's a suggestion to be careful of outlining. Okay, outlining would be me wanting to have this person in my life under this set of circumstances with this bank account, with this, that, and the other. It doesn't, at least in my experience, it hasn't worked out to work that way. Ralph Waldo Emerson suggested that we need to get our bloated nothingness out of the way. And God will be God in our world, and the thing is, we need to keep on focusing on seeing the good, the God. That's what we do here. We practice knowing and seeing the presence. We practice doing what? Knowing and seeing the presence. We practice knowing and seeing the presence in what? We come to learn that every encounter is or from the Course in Miracles, it takes great wisdom to understand that all events, circumstances, and happenings are helpful. Everybody know that? It doesn't seem that way sometimes, right? But we're people who call ourselves truth students. We're people who call ourselves truth students. We focus on what? And not on the story. So what are the stories of our life? Give me examples.
I'm poor, I'm sick.
Stories of
I'm no
life.
good.
Well, mine was just a story of life.
Another story of life. Hi.
I think it's on relationships, how we relate to one another, how we choose to either love or come from a place of spite or indifference.
Okay, so in relationships, there's stories, right? Sometimes, for many of us.
Maybe confusing facts with reality.
Okay, Bill brings up the confusion of facts with reality. In our classes, which we're doing a foundation series right now, I won't say just, we are teaching the basics. Okay, so in our classes, we distinguish between facts in our life and the truth. Now, if you're in a group like this, or you're in a center like this, we are what we call truth students. I didn't know that until I was probably 25, 26. I encountered a minister in Miami, was at Unity, and it was Bill Cameron, who said, "Greg, you're a truth student." And I thought, oh, I didn't know what the hell that meant at the time. What does that idea suggest to anyone? Truth student. Anybody have any ideas? I'll distinguish. Okay, there's the world of facts. In Science of Mind, we talk about the world of effects. Okay? Effects are the things that are in our life which are a result of our consciousness. You can live your life in the world of effects, and that's really talking about people, places, or things. And what happened to you, and sometimes you'll get into poor me, and ain't it awful, and you'll be in the story. That's what I talk about in the story. How many of us live in various stories, day by day, hour by hour?
All of us.
Okay. See, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's anything wrong with anybody. People do that. So this movement, which created the science of mind, Ernest Holmes, originates out of the transcendental movement. That whole idea is you look beyond circumstances. You look beyond the apparent reality of the facts to a greater reality. Okay, we look beyond what's presenting in our life to a greater knowing. There might be disease in our life, but there is a greater truth about you. You're an inlet and outlet of God consciousness, and you have the ability to heal. There's a perfect pattern of life and health and wealth available to you. How do you realize that? When you're caught up in a story. If your reality is poor me, I'm unattractive, nobody loves me, nobody cares, there's not enough money, there's not enough time, I'm too old, it's too late, baby, now. You know, what do you think your life is going to look like with all those stories?
Sad.
So Ernest Holmes, in one of his lectures, I don't like this analogy, but he said it. He says, we carry around a lot of, I say dead wood, he said corpses. Now what the heck do you think he was talking about? You imagine yourself with a bunch of body bags you're dragging around. What are they? What does that represent?
Let the dead bury the dead.
Let the dead bury the dead.
Our stories.
Our stories.
I'll pass.
Our past.
The shoulds.
Our shoulds. Do you know that where some of us live our life, it's kind of like we don't think original thoughts anymore. We have assessments about everybody and everything. You see somebody, you already know all about them. There's no point even thinking about them anymore. We've decided what they are. Right? We've decided many things about many things. Is that intelligent? How can we have a new moment if we've already decided on everything? We know about the economy, we know about Democrats, gay people, blue people, blacks, Hispanics. We have ideas about all kinds of things. Don't we? Are they intelligent?
Very often.
Never. So stuff is passed on to us by well-intentioned people, right? You know, I was Irish Catholic 100 years ago, right? And they had a whole bunch of nonsense, right? And I imagine most of you have some nonsense that comes from, I'll say, your tribe, your background. And what I think we want to do, from Louise Hay, who's always telling us to love ourselves more, is we want to love what we got that was encouraging and nurturing from our background. That's the stuff that makes you strong and fortifies you. And we want to have the willingness to let go of all the stories that are fear-based, that are based on competition and I'm not okay and I'm superior and this person is less than. That whole thing about superior, less than, and greater is a real trap. All those are traps. And it's nobody's fault because guess what? That was stuff that was programmed, right? I adopted it. I'm reminded about these class reunions. I never go to them. I'm sure mine would be the 25th or something, right? And I was class president of that class, and I've never returned. I never, ever returned. That was the time of my life where I really needed to be popular. So I don't think I was particularly friendly with most of those people, but I knew how to work a room. I knew how to do what you needed to do what you know. And that is craziness. So I had good skills to sell myself in all kinds of areas when I was younger. But then the thing is I encountered science of mind. And science of mind, once it starts to live in your heart, your mind, and your being, it's kind of like the games you were playing at a different point in your life just don't seem meaningful to you anymore. In a group that I'm fond of, I think Carolyn's fond of it. There's language about being other referred a lot. Know that phrase? Okay. Where we get our sense of well-being by what other people think or say about us and all that type of thing. In the science of mind, we understand that we're not living our life for the world's approval. We're attempting to live our life for self-approval. Louise Hay, in her beautiful book, You Can Heal Your Life, would say to us in one of the pages, self-acceptance and self-approval in the now, right here today, are the keys to all positive changes. It's not about me getting you to like me or approve of me. It's ultimately always going to be about me learning to accept myself, love myself, give myself a break. And the thing that's really good is you learn to do that with yourself. It becomes almost automatic that you become more generous and giving of your time, your talent, your treasure, your compassion towards others. You step out of that rat race of comparing yourself to others. It's a trap, actually. Jesus stated, love your brother, love your fellow, love your brother, sister as what?
Yourself.
He was on to something. What was he on to? That is as beautiful of a statement as ever has been written or said or uttered. I don't know if he actually said it or not, but it's a beautiful statement. Love your brother, your sister as yourself. You know, that speaks to a knowledge that most people don't have. Truth students understand that under that statement. Love your brother, your sister as yourself because he or she is in fact a part of you, one with you. Always has been that way. Science of mind students understand that there's not a spot where God is not. There's not a spot. That means everybody sitting around you is a part of this. You're all in it together. There's not a spot where, from the Course in Miracles, it takes great wisdom to understand that all events, circumstances, and happenings are helpful. You're in the perfect place at the perfect time when?
Now.
It can be no other way. Perfect place, perfect time. You don't have to like it. Oftentimes you don't. Because, you know, things come in, and they come in, and when they come in, they're not happening to you, they're happening what?
For you.
When you show up at the class reunion, you see this thing that's a fantasy, and it winds up being much different. I mean, how doesn't that play out in your life oftentimes if you don't get what you want? And, you know, so what do you do with that? I'm also a product of 12-step programs, and they were very helpful in my growth and development because in the third step of 12-step program, it's making a decision to turn your life and your will over to the care of something greater than you, of which you are a part. The 11th step in all 12 steps programs is after seeking through prayer and meditation to improve your conscious contact with that essential spirit. So that's really an important idea. Seeking through prayer and meditation to improve your contact, your conscious contact with that. So personally, I stopped praying for things a couple decades ago. One of you said when you have plans, God laughs. I think that was Carolyn. When I pray for stuff, God laughs too. Thankfully, I was taught by a really good religious scientist who was Bill Tolliver in Fort Lauderdale. And he said, many of us have a consciousness that we think God is a cosmic bellhop. We press a button, and then he or she is supposed to just deliver the goods. Give us what we want. Do you actually believe it works that way? You know, the God that you're seeking is in you, operating through you. You approach the ocean of life, as Louise Hay would say, with a certain ability, a container, she says. And some of you approach it with very large containers where you are one with life and it just flows. You're demonstrating good all over the place, easily. And then many live with a lot of constraints, where nothing seems to work. Because their consciousness is so, they're in a point in their life where they just don't believe the good is possible. They might even believe it's too late. Nothing works. If you believe it's too late, nothing works for you, then what's apt to be the reality of your life?
Nothing will work.
Okay, so everybody in this room, I think, or you wouldn't be here, has evolved to a point where you know that there is power in the universe, right? Greater than you, yet you're a part of it. And you also know, as Ralph Waldo Emerson so beautifully said, that the universe is always wooing you. I've been talking about that for 2 decades. The universe is always wooing you. What does that word mean? What do you think Emerson was suggesting when he said the universe is always wooing you?
Catches you by surprise.
Does that,
To see the beauty.
to see the beauty. I know when I'm making transgressions or mistakes, there's almost like an instant knowing. That's part of your conscience, right? That's the universe working through you too. Nobody has to punish me. Guess who punishes me quite well? Isn't it true for everybody? Emerson killed me when I was younger because he said, you don't get away with anything. Never, never, never. He said you pay for everything in spiritual coin. See, you can hear the next statement 2 different ways. When I was younger, I didn't like it. Now I kind of like it. He said the dice of God are always loaded. When I was younger, did not like that idea. Because the idea is I didn't get away with what? Nothing. Absolutely. Nothing. And that was in his essay, The Law and Compensation. Okay? So, also in that essay is a beautiful idea, which he said there is a corrective principle always happening in your life. Okay, so wherever you're making mistakes, the universe is wooing you, and there's an encouragement to get back on track. Okay, Louise Hay, 200 years later, wrote this beautiful book, You Can Heal Your Life. And she'll say, never, never, never criticize yourself for being where you are. If you notice that you're spinning the story, some type of lack or limitation, or nobody understands me or poor me, simply tell yourself, no, cancel, it's not true. The truth of me is that I'm whole and complete and beautiful. You know, you need to have a different, no, I won't say you need because that would be me telling you what you need. Better if I suggest to you that it might be a good idea for you to have a more life-giving conversation with the most important person in your life. Who is that person? Every group I've done in the past 2 years, pretty much, I always ask the question, what's it like being you lately? You're doing this. Paul, what's it like being you lately?
For the most part, blissful.
Yeah, I think that's true about you. That's really great. I watch your posts. I monitor people. The pulse on Facebook. Sandy, what's it like being you?
I was doing pretty good lately.
Everybody else? Been flawless, wonderful, great? How do we change our this is a quiz. How do we change our outer world, everybody?
Changing our inner world.
Why is that conversation that you're having with the most important person in the world so important?
Create that outer world.
Right. So it's important to have a positive conversation. Then you're going to switch up, your outer world. You can become a powerful demonstrator. You can work with treatment. If you keep focusing on seeing the God or the good, your whole world will start to change. If you never criticize yourself, you'll become more attractive. You'll attract a whole different level of, group of friends, circumstances, and everything. We don't outline, I think, what we try to say today, if you're praying for something that's specific, you're apt to be disappointed. And here's the thing, it's kind of like when I'm doing a prayer for something I want, it's kind of like a horse that's got blinders on. It's pretty much, I want just what I want. And I might be one with God, but I'm certainly not the fullness of God. I didn't always know that. I thought, oh my God, I get anything I want, right? I might be one with God, but I'm not the fullness of it. And if I'm praying for this, there can be a world of things there that are so much better for me, and I would never see them because I'm caught up in wanting the specific thing that I want. And that really is the exact opposite of what we teach here, and it's the opposite of what the 12-step programs are about. Okay, 11th step again, seeking only a knowledge of its will for us and the power to carry it out. So that's what we go for here, is we align ourselves. The prayer process is powerful because we are aligning ourselves with the understanding that we're one with life. And we're being guided and inspired. And as we come from that place of knowing our connection, that we're one with this power, then that comes through us. And we declare in treatment that we're supplied, we're supported, we're inlets and outlets of God consciousness. And as we do that, then our life starts to change. Here's a thing I would like to close with for this morning. It's powerful. I think it's powerful. Keep in mind we have stories in our perception, okay? And I have a perception about Bill, and then I'll be tripping about Bill, or Carolyn, or Paul, or anybody standing. So once I have my perception, it's my story, right? So this comes from the Course in Miracles, which I studied for years, and it's been something I read from time to time. It's entitled, What You Perceive. You respond to what you perceive. And as you perceive, so shall you behave. Everything you perceive is a witness to the thought system that you want to be true. What you are perceiving in others, no matter what, you are strengthening in yourself. Perception is always a choice, and it's not a fact. But on this choice depends far more than you may realize as of yet. For on the voice you choose to hear and the sights you choose to see depends entirely your whole belief in what you are. Instruction and preparation is our great need. Big question here. What would you see? The choice is always given you. Say that one again. What would you see? The choice is always yours, right? But learn and do not let your mind forget this law of seeing. You will look upon that which you feel within. If hatred finds a place within your being, your heart, you will perceive a fearful world, held cruelly in death's sharp, bony fingers. If, on the other hand, you feel the love of God within you, if you really feel that and connected to that, you will look out on a world of mercy and love. You have no conception in your life on the limits you've already placed on your perception. And you have no idea of all the loveliness that you could be seeing. Perception can make whatever picture the mind desires to see. Remember this. In this lies either heaven or hell, as you elect. So it is.
So it is.